Kotamangalam Subbu was another clerk. He was not as educated, as fortunate, as supported by as the office boy. Yet he reached the top of Gemini Studios. He was a man of amazing genius. He was able to direct the editors. He suggested dozens of ways to shoot certain scene when the director failed to find one. He acted better than the heroes. He wrote incredible poems, though he was able to write more complicated ones that could raise him to status of a great poet. Subbu preferred writing them in simple Tamil to enlighten the majority of Tamil people. Besides, he supported his far and near relatives. He had only enemies everywhere because he was very much close to the boss Vasan, and he was actually number two at Gemini. He was a versatile personality. Once he produced a movie which flopped, but he still managed to stay calm and cheerful. Legal advisor. The legal advisor worked in story department. He was a lawyer and provided legal advices to the writers. Yet he was known as illegal advisor. There is one incident that's the reason why he got this name. The following incident is one of the reasons that he gave him that name. Once the shooting was under progress, the heroine, a highly emotional girl, got angry with director and producer. While the whole set stood stunned at this, the legal advisor recorded her voice without her permission and made her listen to the playback, thus resulting the end of a rising star. Actually, this actress, she was from a small place, and she felt so embarrassed to listen to her own voice. She left Gemini Studio forever. And one more thing, which actually made legal advisors stand out from the rest of the people employed in Gemini Studios, was that he always wore coat and pant, unlike the other people who wore khadi kurta and were Gandhiites. This is like you can see the difference how lawyer or legal advisor dressed and how writers, poets, including Subbu, dressed in Gemini Studios. And now let's talk about poets and writers at Gemini Studio. Gemini Studios had some great poets like Harindranath Chattopadhyay and few others. Most of the insignificant poets considered so great of themselves, they had no great talent, no great creativity, no political views, yet they consumed the years of greatest poets, wasting Vasan's money, and they believed that Gandhiji to be the last word of politics and had developed an aversion for communism. And now, communism. Communism was a new political order that was spreading throughout the world, especially in Asian countries. Communism preached equality of people and abolition of poverty and class divisions while it discouraged private ownership. But communalism won a negative impression due to capitalist industry in countries such as America. Frank Bushman's Moral Rearmament Army was a theatre group, and they came to Gemini Studios, and members of the studios were their host, and it was basically a movement against communalism. All the members and the boss of this whole group was against communalism. And it was this theatre group was also called International Circus. Actually, it had members of from 20 different countries, and these actors, though they were not so refined in their act, but still they put up two wonderful plays in a professional manner, Jotham Valley and The Forgotten Factor. Message of these plays was very simple. First rate sets and costumes. Madras and Tamil drama community was so terribly impressed by the scene of sunrise and sunset in Jotham Valley. And actually, the bare stage, white background, curtain, and a tune played on the flute. And for some years, almost all Tamil plays had such a scene. Gemini family of 600 saw the play over and over again. And here, this is the example given, which shows that how Gemini Studios was highly influenced by MRA. After MRI, there was another guest who visited Gemini Studios, the mystery of poet from England. Who was this who visited Gemini Studios? Poet, editor from England. He was tall, very English, very serious, very unknown to the people at Gemini Studios, and his name was Stephen Spender. And even Vasan was not sure about who this person is. So he invited him to speak to Tamil audience, and his English was, it was not it was not actually kind of English which these people were used to, Tamil writers they were used to listen to, and they could not comprehend, they could not understand what he was saying. Boss read out a long speech, which was the most general way to like introducing somebody. It was obvious that he too knew precious little about the poet editor, and his visit remained an unexplained mystery. The English poet spoke and addressed dazed and silent audience. No one knew what he was talking about. His accent defeated any attempt to understand what he was saying, and there was lack of communication. And the audience at Gemini Studios could not understand what an English poet was doing in a film studio which makes Tamil films for simpler sort of people. Their lives did not give them the possibility of cultivating a taste for English poetry. The poet looked pretty baffled too, for he too must have felt the sheer incongruity of his talk about the thrills and travails of an English poet. Finally, this mystery of this unknown Englishman was solved later on. The Hindu had published a tiny announcement in a insignificant corner of an unimportant page, a short story contest organized by British periodical by the name of The Encounter. Author Ashok Mitran wanted to get an idea of the periodical before he spent a considerable sum in postage sending a manuscript to England. There were copies of Encounter lying about in various degrees of freshness, almost untouched by readers in British Council Library. The editor's name rang the bell in author's heart. It was the poet who had visited Gemini Studios, Stephen Spender. He was the editor of Encounter. And it was then and there when this mystery was finally solved for the author. Students, later on, when poet had some money, and what he did, he just saw this beautiful book lying somewhere when he was out there to purchase some things, and this attractive book was just for 50 paisa. So he purchased the book. When he opened the book was written by 6 different authors about their experience of in communalism and their return. So Stephen Spender was one of the 6 authors of the book, and the name of the book was The God That Failed. And it was basically about the journeys into communalism and their disillusioned return. When he saw the name of Stephen Spender among the authors, the reaction to the Spender's visit to Gemini Studios was no longer a mystery. The boss of the Gemini Studios may not have much to do with Spender's poetry, but not with his God that failed. We can, to some extent, say that mystery was now clear. Why Stephen Spender was invited in Gemini Studios, maybe Watson's inclination towards communalism. Last not the least, the most important, S.S. Vasan was an Indian journalist, writer, advertiser, film producer, director, and business tycoon. He was founder of Tamil language magazine Anandavaktan, founder of the film production company Gemini Studios, and his actual name was Subramaniam Srinivasan, popularly known by his screen name S.S. Vasan. This was about the important people and events in Poets and Pancakes. Next video will be the detailed explanation from the text.